Snow was falling again. The cold wind howled through the broken buildings of the old city. Everything looked gray and dead. Long ago, this place had been full of people, lights, cars, and life. Now it was silent, except for the wind and the soft crunch of snow under small feet. Mira, a 12-year-old girl, walked through the empty streets with a worn-out bag over her shoulder. Her coat had holes. Her boots were too big. But her eyes were sharp. She knew how to survive. She knew where to find broken machines to sell, where the wild dogs slept, and when to hide from patrol drones. Mira didn't remember her parents. She didn't even remember what the world looked like before the war. The only thing she had was her blanket, old, patched with different colors, soft on one side and torn on the other. She always kept it close. That night she was looking for food scraps near the train station ruins, when she saw something strange. There was a man sitting on a broken bench. No one ever sat there. Not in this weather, not in this part of the city. But there he was, tall, still, with snow covering his shoulders and head like a statue. His eyes were closed. His hands were resting on his knees. He looked peaceful, or maybe frozen. Mira watched him from behind a metal beam. She waited. 1 minute, 2, 10. He didn't move. She thought, is he dead? Slowly, she stepped closer. She was small and quiet, like a cat. No sound, no sudden moves. Just careful steps through the snow. When she was close enough, she saw that his skin didn't look right. It was pale, not white like snow, but smooth like plastic. His coat was thick, and his boots were heavy, like military gear. His face was calm, but cold. Mira felt a strange sadness. She whispered, "You look cold." "Mister." The man didn't move. She hesitated. Then slowly, she took the blanket from her bag. It was the only warm thing she had. The only thing left from her old life. She placed it gently over his shoulders. "You can use my blanket," she whispered. Again, and sat down on the edge of the bench, her arms hugging her knees. For a while, nothing happened. The snow kept falling. Then, the man moved. His fingers twitched. A soft sound came from his chest, a small hum, like something turning on. His head lifted slightly. Then his eyes opened. They were not normal eyes. They glowed faint blue in the dark, like 2 stars trapped inside glass. Mira gasped and scooted back a little, ready to run. But the man just stared at her. His expression was calm, curious, almost gentle. "Why did you do that?" he asked. His voice was deep but soft, like a machine trying to sound human. "You looked cold," Mira said quietly. "And alone." He looked down at the blanket. His fingers touched the cloth, slow and careful. He blinked once. "Cold does not harm me," he said. "I didn't know that," Mira replied. "You still looked sad." For a long moment, the man said nothing. Then he looked at the sky. "This place is quiet," he said. "Empty, still." "Yeah," Mira nodded. "Most people left, or didn't make it." He turned his head toward her. "But you stayed." "I had nowhere else to go." More silence. Then the man said, "What is your name?" "Mira." He blinked again. I'm called Dren." Mira tilted her head. "Are you human?" "No," he said. "Not anymore." She waited for him to explain. He didn't. He just stared at the snow, as if lost in old memories. Mira felt no fear. Somehow she knew he wasn't going to hurt her. "You hungry?" she asked. "I do not eat," Dren replied. "Lucky you," she said with a sigh, opening a small tin of dried beans from her bag. She handed it to him anyway, and began to eat from another. Dren looked at the tin, then back at her. "You gave away your blanket. Now your food," Mira shrugged. "You looked like you needed it." "I am not human," he reminded her. "You." "We're sitting in the snow alone," she said. "That's enough." Dren looked down again at the blanket wrapped around his shoulders. Something deep in his system stirred and old. Forgotten protocol buried under war codes and battle memories. Protect, preserve, serve. It was strange. Those commands had meant nothing for so long. But now, because of a child, they began to pulse. Again, like sparks in the dark. You are unusual, he said. I get that a lot, Mira smiled, wiping her mouth. Dren stood slowly, the blanket slipping down. Mira stood too, ready to catch it. He handed it back to her. You should keep this. You can borrow it tonight, she said. If you want. Dren didn't answer right away, then he nodded. Very well. Mira smiled again and motioned for him to follow. I know a place nearby. It's warmer. You can stay with me tonight. And just like that, a lonely relic of war and a brave little girl disappeared into the snowy streets together. Mira's shelter was a small space behind an old train station wall, hidden under broken concrete and rusted metal. She had made it cozy in her own way, with wooden crates for sitting, a stack of blankets, and a small fire built inside a metal drum. The fire gave a little heat, just enough to keep her fingers from freezing. She pulled Dren inside and brushed the snow off his coat. He ducked under the low ceiling and looked around. His glowing blue eyes scanned the space. It's not much, Mira said, but it's safe. Dren stood quietly. He wasn't sure what to say. No human had ever invited him to stay before. Most feared him, those who knew what he was. Others thought he was long dead. Even he had started to believe that. He looked at the corner where Mira had stacked her supplies, some cans, a flashlight, 2 extra shirts, and her small red blanket folded neatly. You live here? He asked. Yeah, Mira replied. For 2 winters now. Alone? She nodded and dropped onto a crate. I don't trust the groups. They trade food for safety, but they take more than they give. Dren sat slowly across from her. The crate groaned under his weight. Mira held her hands out to the fire. Your coat's steaming, she said. You're not normal, are you? No, he answered. I was made for war, she blinked. Made? Dren looked at his own hand, fingers that looked human but moved too perfect, too smooth. I was once human. But when the war began between Earth and the Varnok, I became something else. A hybrid. Mira's eyes widened. You fought? In the old war? Yes, I was part of Project Sentinel. Humans turned into machines to protect Earth. Why didn't you leave when the others escaped? She asked. Darien paused. That question echoed inside him. Why had he stayed? I was shut down, he finally said. Left behind, until tonight. When I gave you the blanket. She asked. He nodded. Yes, your kindness woke something in me. Something I thought was lost. Mira smiled, not fully understanding but sensing it was important. Outside, the wind blew harder. Snowflakes danced like ghosts in the dark. The city moaned with distant sounds, metal creaking, glass breaking, and something like a low hum, almost too quiet to hear. Do you remember the war? Mira asked. Yes, Dren said. The Varnok came from deep space. They didn't want our land or water. They wanted to test us, to see if we were a threat. Were we? She asked. We became one, he replied. Humans learned fast, fought harder. We built machines, weapons, shields. The Sentinels like me were created in secret. Part human, part machine. Stronger, smarter. But we lost, Mira said softly. Not exactly. We drove them away. But Earth was damaged. The rich and powerful left the planet behind. Only the poor and broken remained. Mira poked the fire with a stick. So they just left us to die. Yes, Dren replied. But some like you survived. She looked up. Why are you still here? I don't know, Dren answered. But now, I think I have a reason. Mira tilted her head. What reason? You, he said simply. Mira laughed a little. I'm just a kid. No, Dren said. You are a reminder. that not all humans are cruel or selfish. You gave something precious to someone you didn't know. That makes you special. Mira looked away, a bit shy. It was just a blanket. It was more than that to me. They sat quietly for a while. The fire cracked. The wind howled. Somewhere, a metal sign clanged against a pole. The city seemed to breathe in silence. Then Dren's eyes flashed brighter. "What's wrong?" Mira asked. He stood up quickly. "Something is nearby. A drone." She jumped to her feet. "A patrol drone?" He nodded. "Scanning for energy signatures. They are hunting survivors. Then we have to hide." Dren stepped between her and the entrance. "No, I will stop." But they're dangerous." "Not to me," he said calmly. "Stay here." He walked out into the storm as snow whipped around him. MEER, a watched from the crack in the wall. The drone hovered low, its red lights sweeping the streets. Then it locked onto DREN. Scan detected. Unidentified unit. Threat level. High dotted. Fired a beam of light. Dren raised his hand, absorbing the blast into his body. His core glowed blue. Then he leaped fast as lightning and slammed his fist into the drone's side. Sparks exploded. One more hit and the drone fell, crushed. Dren stood over the smoking wreck. Snow melted around his feet. Mira ran out. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "But I used too much energy." She grabbed his hand. "Come on, back inside." He stumbled slightly, and she helped guide him. He was heavy, but she was stronger than she looked. Back inside, she wrapped the blanket around him again. "You saved me." He looked down at her. "You saved me first." The fire crackled. Morning came slowly. The sun peeked through the thick gray clouds, turning the snowy city into a soft silver world. Mira stretched under her thin blanket. Her little shelter behind the train station was quiet, except for the sound of low breathing. She looked up. Dren was sitting near the fire barrel, perfectly still, like a statue made of steel and skin. His coat was back on, and his eyes were half closed, glowing faint blue. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "I do not sleep," he replied. "I run silent. Recharge cycles." "That sounds boring." Dren gave a small smile. "Sometimes it is." Mira yawned and sat up. Her stomach growled. She reached into her bag and pulled out half a protein bar, then split it in two. "Here, for saving me last night." "I don't eat," Dren reminded her. "I know," she said, handing him one half anyway. "You can just hold it. Pretend." He accepted it, looking at the bar like it was a strange gift. For a moment, he didn't feel like a machine. He felt human. Later that day, Mira took Dren through the ruins. They stayed in the shadows and walked between collapsed buildings and frozen cars. Mira showed him places she knew, an old vending machine that still had working buttons, a small garden hidden inside a broken greenhouse, and a dog she fed sometimes named Bruno. Dren watched her with interest. Her world was broken, but she was not. She gave her food to the dog. She shared water with an old woman hiding under a stairway. She helped a boy with a limp cross a frozen path. "Why do you help them?" Dren asked. "No one helped me when I was small," she said, "so I help others now." He paused. "But you don't have much." "I have enough." Dren studied her carefully. He had been programmed to protect humans, but over the years, his systems had become cold logical. Survival first, threat second. But Mira made him feel something different. She reminded him why he had become a sentinel in the first place. That evening, they returned to the shelter. Mira lit the fire again. Using a few pages from a ruined book, Dren stood quietly near the entrance. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I scanned your DNA earlier," he said. "I hope you don't mind." She shrugged. "What did you find? You are unmarked. No genetic upgrades, no implants. You are fully natural. And that's rare?" "Very," Dren said. Most remaining humans are descendants of soldiers, lab-born workers, or modified settlers. You are pure human untouched. One of the last, Mira blinked. What does that mean? It means you are what humanity was meant to be. Before. War, before machines, before greed. Mira sat back. She didn't know how to feel about that. I'm just Mira, she said. I'm not special. But you are, Dren said. You woke me with kindness. You gave me warmth. You are the reason I remembered what it means to care. Suddenly, Dren's eyes flickered, and his chest glowed brighter. His sensors picked up a signal faint, distant, but growing stronger. Trouble? Mira asked, seeing his face change. Yes. Dren said slowly. A signal. Not human, Mira stood. Drones? No, something worse. He turned toward the north, eyes glowing brighter. The Varnak are returning. That night, the wind carried a strange hum through the city ruins. Mira couldn't sleep. She sat near the fire, hugging her blanket. Dren stood outside, silent as a tower, scanning the skies. He remembered everything now. The war, the betrayal, the fall of Earth's defense system. The day his core went dark, the Varnak had never truly been defeated. They had only retreated watching, waiting. Now they had sensed something, Dren's reactivation. His old core had sent out a signal, calling out like a light in the dark. They're coming back, he said. For me? Mira asked, eyes wide. No, for me. But they will not spare anyone. She swallowed hard. So what do we do? Dren looked at her, then at the city behind them. We warn the others. The next day, Mira took Dren to the undergrounds, a group of survivors who lived in old metro tunnels. Most people feared strangers, but Mira was known to them. Still, when they saw Dren, many grabbed pipes, knives, or old guns. Is that a drone? One man shouted. No, Mira said firmly. He's with me. He's dangerous. A woman cried. He saved me from a patrol drone. Mira shouted back. He's not like the others. The leader, a man named Basar, stepped forward. His face was old and tired, his beard full of ice. You're a machine, he said to Dren. I am more, Dren replied. I was built to protect humans. I failed once. I will not fail again. Basar narrowed his eyes. Why should we trust you? Dren didn't speak. Instead, he removed a small disk from his chest, a data core glowing blue, and held it out. This has battle maps, defense codes, energy grid layouts. Use it. Basar hesitated, then took it. I believe you, he said. But others won't. They don't have to, Mira said. They just have to stay alive. As the sun disappeared, Dren stood with Mira on a rooftop overlooking the broken city. Snow fell slowly, covering everything in silence. You could have left, Mira said softly. You're strong, fast. You could hide or fly far away. I could, Dren said. But I would rather stay, because you gave me something I thought I lost. What? He looked down at her. Reason to protect again. Mira smiled, even though her hands were cold. Then we fight together, she said. Yes, Dren replied. Together. The sky was no longer silent. For days, a low hum vibrated through the clouds, like the growl of something large and hidden. The snow kept falling, but even the wind seemed to stop and listen. Birds had disappeared. The air felt heavy, like it was waiting for something terrible. Dren stood on top of a tall, broken building. His glowing blue eyes watched the sky as dark shapes moved behind the clouds. He didn't blink. He didn't move. His mind was calculating, scanning, remembering. The Varnak were here. Their ships didn't look like human ships. They were alive, organic. Machines shaped like black wings and long blades. They floated without sound, without fire. They didn't burn cities. They scanned first. They studied. Then they attacked. Mira climbed up the stairs to meet him, her breath fogging in the cold. "Is it them?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Dren replied. "How many?" Dren answered without looking at her. 3 scout ships. Hundreds of drones. "More will come." Mira's heart pounded. "What do they want?" "They want to erase what's left of Earth," he said. "They believe humans are dangerous. Last time we surprised them. This time, they will not make that mistake again." She swallowed. "What can we do?" Dren finally looked at her. "We fight, we prepare, and we protect." The underground survivors met in the old metro station. It was crowded, cold, and full of whispers. People were scared. Some held weapons made from pipes and wires. Others just hugged their families and listened. Basar stood at the front, holding Dren's glowing data core in one hand. "This machine gave us this," he said. "Maps of the old city defenses, hidden tunnels, power lines, automated turrets from the war. If we work fast, we can bring them back online." Some people nodded. Others looked nervous. "He's still a machine," a woman said. "What if it's a trick?" "He saved Mira's life," Basar said. "And she trusts him, so do I." Dren stepped forward. His voice was calm, strong. "I was built to fight for you," he said. "But I cannot do it alone." A boy raised his hand. "You'll fight the aliens?" "Yes." "With us?" "Yes." A silence passed through the crowd. Then someone stepped forward. Then another. Then 10 more. They didn't trust machines, but they trusted Mira. Over the next 2 days, the ruins came alive again. Old wires were pulled from the snow. Power was restored to broken buildings. Hidden weapons, turrets, traps, and shields were fixed by Dren's hands. He worked without rest, his arms glowing as he linked his systems to old machines. Mira helped too. She ran wires, carried tools, and even cooked food for tired workers. Her voice gave people hope. Her courage became their courage. Dren noticed something strange. Everywhere Mira went, people followed her, not out of fear, but out of faith. She was becoming something Earth hadn't seen in a long time, a leader. On the 3rd night, a Varnak scout ship landed just outside the city. The ground shook as its long legs pierced the frozen earth. Its metal skin pulsed like a beating heart. Red lights scanned the area. The people in the metro could feel the vibrations in their bones. Essa ran to Dren. "They've landed. It begins." Dren nodded. "Let them come." Mira stood next to him. "I'm not hiding." "I know," Dren said. "You're stronger than most soldiers I knew." "I'm just a girl with a blanket." She smiled. "Maybe that's exactly what we needed." When the Varnak drones came, they came fast. Black machines flew over the rooftops like metal birds. They had no eyes, no faces, only sharp edges and red lights. They fired energy beams, sliced through metal, and dropped bombs. But this time, the city fought back. Hidden turrets woke from sleep and blasted the sky with blue fire. Traps exploded in alleyways, taking down groups of drones. Metal walls rose from the ground to block streets. And at the center of it all, Dren stood like a steel giant, his arms glowing, his chest lit like a star. He moved faster than any drone. He punched through metal like paper. He shielded people with his body and led attacks through smoke and fire. Mira stayed underground, helping wounded people, guiding children, and using a broken radio to give reports to Dren. "She's everywhere," Basar said. "That girl doesn't stop. She's hope," someone replied. "You don't hide hope. You follow it." Then came the big one. A larger Varnak ship landed in the center of the city. It looked like a black flower made of blades. From it came the Varnak commander, tall, silver, with long arms and glowing red lines down its chest. It walked like it floated, its voice like metal scraping against stone. It stood before Dren. "You should not exist," the Varnak said. "I do," Dren replied. "You were left behind, forgotten, useless. Not useless, Dren said. I found something. What? A reason. The Varnak laughed, a hollow, echoing sound. You protect a weak species. One that abandoned you. I protect her, Dren said, pointing to Mira behind him. And through her, I protect them. The Varnak raised its hand. So did Dren. Their fight lit up the sky. While they fought, Mira led a team to rescue people trapped near the tower ruins. She pulled a boy out from under stone, helped an old woman run through fire, and carried a girl too weak to walk. Even when her hands were burned, even when her legs were shaking, she did not stop. Somewhere in the distance, she saw Dren falling. No. She screamed. She turned to Basar. Get everyone underground. Now, what will you do? He asked. I'm going to bring him back. Smoke rose into the sky like black rivers. Fire burned across the snow-covered city. Buildings crumbled. Sirens wailed. And at the heart of it all, Dren lay still, his metal body cracked, sparks flying from his chest. The Varnak commander stood. Over him, its silver frame pulsing with red energy. Its voice echoed in the freezing air. You are broken, machine. Dren's systems were damaged. His energy core was flickering. His arms wouldn't move. His vision faded in and out. But even in pain, his mind searched. Where is Mira? Is she safe? Then he heard it. Footsteps. Running. A small figure appeared through the smoke. Mira, coughing, her coat singed, her hands scraped, but her eyes were strong. She dropped beside him and pressed her small hand to his cold cheek. You're not allowed to give up, she whispered. Not while I'm still fighting. Dren's eyes flickered. Mira. She smiled, even though her face was dirty and tired. See, you're still here. You should run, he said. No, she replied. I came to bring you back. The Varnak commander turned toward her, the child again. Mira stood up slowly, putting herself between the alien and Dren. You don't belong here, she said, voice shaking but loud. You are nothing, the Varnak hissed. A weak creature with no weapon, no armor. I have something stronger, Mira said. The commander paused. What? She pointed to Dren. Him. Suddenly, a blast of blue light erupted from behind the Varnak. One of the city's old laser turrets, reactivated by the underground, fired a beam straight into the alien's back. The commander screamed and staggered. That was the moment Dren needed. His systems rebooted. Power surged through his chest. System restarting. Memory. Core online. Defense mode. Activated. Dren stood up, armor plates locking back into place. His eyes glowed bright as twin stars. You threatened the last hope of this planet, he said to the Varnak. Now you face me. The Varnak roared and charged, claws raised. Dren met him head-on. The two giants clashed in the middle of the city, sending shockwaves through the buildings. Mira ran to safety, watching from behind a wall. Dren's punches were faster now. His body burned with energy. The Varnak tried to stab him, but Dren dodged and slammed his knee into its chest. Sparks flew. You were built to follow, the Varnak growled. I was built to protect, Dren replied. The fight raged on. Windows shattered. Metal bent. The street cracked under their weight. All around them, humans, young, old, weak, strong, rose from the underground to help. They attacked the smaller Varnak drones with pipes, bricks, and courage. They lit fire traps, threw homemade bombs, and dragged the wounded to safety. They didn't run. They resisted. Basar found Mira helping a wounded man under a broken arch. You should be hiding, he said. Mira shook her head. We hide too much. He handed her a radio. We've got one of the communication towers working. You can speak to everyone. Mira took it and climbed the remains of a van. She pressed the button and spoke. This is Mira. I know many of you are scared. I am too, but we are not alone. We have each other, and we have Dren. This is our home. No one will take it from us. So pick up something. Stand beside someone and fight. Not for the old world. Fight for the one we're building. Now. The message echoed through the tunnels, streets, and broken homes, and people listened. Back at the battle, Dren was holding the Varnak commander by the neck. You cannot win, the alien gasped. More will come. I know, Dren said. That's why I won't stop. He activated a pulse charge from his Korra, Forbidden's move, that burned his own systems. Boom! A shockwave blasted the Varnak into a building. Burying it under steel beams, Dren fell to one knee. His body was overheating, but the city was holding. He looked up and saw something he didn't expect. Humans helping each other. A woman pulled. A boy from rubble. A man gave his only coat to a child. 2 teens carried water to the injured. No fear. No greed. Just unity. For the first time in decades, Earth was alive again. Dren limped back to the tower ruins where Mira stood waiting. She ran to him and hugged him tightly. You did it, she whispered. We did it, he replied. But the commander? Gone. For now, she looked up at him. You're hurt. I'll survive. She touched his cracked chest plate. You need repairs. He smiled faintly. I'll be fine. Just don't stop being you. Mira held his hand. I promise. That night, no more ships appeared. No more drones flew. The stars returned to the sky. And for the first time in a long time, Earth had peace, but deep in the shadows of space. Other Varnak ships turned toward Earth, sensing the failure of their scout leader. They would come soon, and Earth would be ready. Snow still covered the broken city, but something had changed. For years, the streets had only seen silence, sadness, and fear. Now there were voices, laughter, the sound of hammers fixing things, the hum of wires coming back to life. Survivors were not hiding anymore, they were building. Dren sat quietly near the center of the city, under the skeleton of an old tower. His body was badly damaged. One arm didn't move. Part of his chest was exposed, showing blue wires and glowing circuits. Sparks jumped now and then, but he stayed awake. He watched the people work. Some were cleaning streets. Others helped set up tents and cook food. Children played with snow, their faces full of hope. For the first time, they didn't look afraid. Mera arrived, carrying a bowl of warm soup. You need to eat, she said with a smile. I don't eat, Dren replied as always. Yeah, but you can still hold it. That's what friends do. He took the bowl gently. Thank you, Mira sat beside him. She had bruises on her arms, a bandage on her knee, and soot on her face. But her eyes still held their light. You saved the city, she said softly. No, Dren answered. You did. Mira shook her head. I didn't fight the commander. But you led the people, Dren said. You gave them courage. When they looked at you, they believed the world could be better again. I'm just a kid, she whispered. Dren looked at her. You're more than that now. That afternoon, a group of survivors gathered in the old train yard. Basar, the former tunnel leader, stood with a radio in one hand and a map in the other. We found old machines underground, he said. Power cells, data cores. With Dren's help, we can bring back the city's shield grid. People cheered. Dren nodded once from a distance, staying quiet. But we also need a voice, Basar added. Someone to speak for the city, to lead. Voices rose in the crowd. Basar should lead. What about the techs? We need a council. Then, someone shouted, what about Mira? The crowd fell silent. Mira blinked. Me? You gave us hope, one woman said. You stood up when we were scared. You helped the machine. You helped us, said a boy. Basar stepped back. The people have spoken. Mira's heart pounded. She looked at Dren. He gave a small nod. I don't know how to lead a city, she said, her voice small. You don't need to know everything, Basar said kindly. Just care for people, like you already do. Mira took a deep breath. Then she stepped forward and raised her voice. Then I'll try, not as a ruler, not as a hero, just as someone who still believes Earth is worth saving. The people clapped, some smiled, some cried. In that moment, Mira became more than just a homeless girl with a blanket. She became the heart of a new world. Later that night, Dren worked quietly on a damaged energy line. Sparks flew as he used his remaining arm to rewire the system. Mira sat nearby, watching the stars. Do you miss the stars? She asked. I don't remember, Dren said. I was made for war. I wasn't built to look up, she smiled. Well, you can now. I think I like them, he replied. She looked at him. Will you stay? Dren paused. His body was falling apart. His systems were failing. But something inside him, a feeling, kept him going. Yes, as long as I'm needed. You're more than needed, Mira said. You're family now. He looked at her, and for the first time in many years, Dren felt something warm inside, not heat, but belonging. Suddenly, the radio next to Mira crackled. Unknown signal detected. Deep space, large object moving fast. Dren stood up. They're coming. Mira grabbed the radio. How long? 2, maybe 3 days. The Varnak weren't finished. A larger ship was approaching Earth. A full strike vessel. This time, they weren't sending scouts. They were sending war. The next morning, the city woke with purpose. Mira gathered the people. Dren stood at her side, supported by a metal brace built by survivors. Though weak, he still had power left in his core. We don't run, Mira said. We stand. The people nodded. Some began setting up power lines. Others prepared homemade weapons. Dren helped connect the city's shield grid. It wouldn't stop everything, but it would buy them time. Later, Dren sat with Mira near the old fire barrel. She placed the red and yellow patched blanket over his shoulders again. You still carry this, he said. It's not just a blanket, she replied. It's the first thing I gave you. He touched it softly. Then I will wear it into battle. Mira stared into the fire. We may not win this time. Maybe not, Dren said. But we'll fight. Together, she nodded slowly. Then, let's show them what Earth really is. That night, the city lights flickered to life. Not many, just a few. But it was the first time in years that Earth shone again. And up in the dark skies, the enemy saw it. A message. We are still here, and we are not afraid. The Varnak ship entered Earth's orbit like a shadow falling over the moon. It was huge, 10 times the size of the one before it. Its body was black metal, with glowing blue engines and sharp edges. From the sky, it looked like a blade ready to strike. On the ground, the city was quiet but awake. People stood behind makeshift shields. They carried tools, scrap weapons, and brave hearts. Children were moved to safe tunnels. The power grid buzzed softly, feeding life back into the old systems. Dren stood tall, his broken frame wrapped in wires and metal plates. On his back was something small and soft, a patched red and yellow blanket. Mira stood beside him, holding a radio and a flashlight. Her eyes were tired but steady. Ready? She asked. Dren nodded. As ready as I can be. Suddenly, the sky lit up with a beam. The enemy had arrived. Blue fire rained down from the ship. It hit the hills outside the city, sending clouds of dust into the air. But the shield grid, half-powered and full of hope, flickered on. The next blast bounced off it like water on glass. The people cheered. Hold it, Mira shouted. Just hold. The enemy ship opened, and small crafts dropped from it. Black machines with glowing red eyes began landing across the city. They were stronger than the first wave, faster, smarter, and colder. The ground battle had begun. Dren rushed forward. His body shook with every step, but he moved fast. His one working arm shot out, grabbing one of the new drones mid-air. He slammed it into the wall and kept going. Behind him, Humans worked together like never before. One old man used a forklift to block a group of drones. Young girl with metal gloves punched 2 attackers. Basar and his crew fired makeshift guns from rooftops. It was not perfect. It was not clean. But it was brave. And that made it powerful. In the control room of the Varnak ship, a commander watched the scene with cold eyes. He had 4 arms and a crown of wires on his head. His voice crackled with static as he spoke. "How are they resisting?" A tech replied, "The protector unit is still online. But it is wearing a human blanket." The commander stared at the screen. "A what?" The tech showed the image. Dren, half destroyed, half human, glowing with fire and kindness, wrapped in a small soft blanket. The commander growled, "End him." Back on Earth, Mira heard the alarm. "They're targeting Dren." She shouted. She grabbed her bike and sped through the broken streets, dodging fire and rubble. She had one mission: get to Dren. She found him near the power core, holding off 6 drones by himself. His arms sparked wildly. His leg barely moved. But his eyes were still lit. "Mira," he said. "You need help," she gasped. "I need you to believe." She reached into her bag and pulled out the last battery cell. "Use this." He plugged it into his chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then boom, a wave of energy burst from his body, knocking all drones flat. But the blast also overloaded his system. Dren fell to one knee. Smoke rose from his chest. "Dren!" Mira screamed. He looked at her with tired eyes. "It's okay. My part is almost done." High above, the Varnak commander launched his final weapon, a plasma bomb large enough to destroy the whole city. Everyone saw it falling. A bright blue light from the sky. No one could stop it. Until Dren stood. He looked at Mira. "Thank you for the blanket." He ran toward the center of the city. Mira shouted, "No!" But he was already gone. He reached the main tower and climbed. The bomb was coming fast. He opened his chest, exposed his energy core, used his last bit of power, and jumped straight into the bomb's path. In the sky, a second sun exploded. The shockwave lit the clouds with gold and silver, but it didn't destroy the city, because Dren had absorbed the blast. His body, once built for war, had become a shield. His sacrifice saved them all. For a long time, everything was silent. Then the Varnak ship began to fall back. Its weapons shut down. Its engines failed. It retreated, slowly, then faster until it disappeared into space. The people of Earth had won. Days passed. The snow began to melt. Spring came. Early. Flowers grew through the cracks in the street. Children played again. Laughter returned. But one thing remained the same. A small blanket, torn and burnt at the edges, was placed in a glass box in the city square. A sign below it read, "To the machine who became a man, and the girl who taught him how." Mira stood in front of it every morning. Not to cry, but to smile, because she knew he was still there, in every light, every breeze, and every brave heart that walked Earth.